Yep.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Yvette Adams from the Creative Collective here, and I'm very excited to welcome you onto our very first webinar for 2011 on behalf of the Queensland Government, specifically DD, the Department of Employment, Economic Development and Innovation. We're really glad that you've been able to find the time today to get online and listen today about the topic of improving your business performance. Now, we know that it's been a pretty rough start to the year for a lot of Queensland business owners, what with disasters and still financial worries around for many. So I'm really pleased that you've made the time to commit to getting some great strategies, and improving your business is exactly what we'll be able to share. We're just having a little technical issue where we'll get the right screen up. Do I make this full screen now, Jag? Screen. We're just getting these slides up. They were up and they're not now. 1 second. Okay, I believe in just a few seconds you should see the screen of the slides we want to present to you today. Okay, you should now see the first screen in our presentation. We're good to go?
Yes.
Okay, there's a picture of me. My name's Yvette Adams, as I said. I have won a few business awards towards the end of last year. I won 3 actually. And I hope that through my experiences of starting 4 different businesses from scratch, some of which have since been sold, can help you in whatever you're doing business-wise, whether that's starting up, trying to grow, or just to consolidate an already established business. Right now, my day-to-day job is as the owner, director and franchisor of the Creative Collective. We're a creative agency based on the Sunshine Coast of Queensland, though it is raining yet again right now. And we love working with startups through to large companies. As you can see on there, we have clients all over the place, including internationally, offering creative services like website design, development, etc. I like to drop in when I introduce myself that I'm also a mother of 2. And if you can see the little hand button, I'd like you to click on it now and indicate whether you're a parent as well, juggling the business that you do. There we go. Katrina's got her hand up. It's very easy to put your hand up, as you can see. And there actually were some instructions on how to orientate yourself around the system available prior to the webinar, but I'm sure you'll get the hang of it as we go. It's very, very easy. So my 2 are aged 4 and 7 years old, and I most love training and assisting others, just doing what I'm doing now, because I love sharing that knowledge, and I love hearing their success stories. Just on Monday, I had 25 business owners on the Sunshine Coast I've worked with extensively for the past 6 months, and the stories that come out of that place are just wonderful, warms my heart, and I really hope that through these webinars, maybe I can create a few more success stories in you guys. So here's the format for today. We've just done a bit of an intro, and in a moment I'll take you through exactly what we'll be covering in the webinar. There was a workbook that you were encouraged to download. So when you registered, you should have received an auto response in an email with a link saying go and grab the workbook from there. Now look, I appreciate you may have been busy and had best intentions and may not have got that workbook downloaded, or you may have downloaded it and not yet read through it. Either way, I do really encourage you, post this webinar, to get the very most out of it, to refer back to that workbook. It really is a wonderful resource. It's got extensive information for reference and also lots of great exercises to work through, so you can come up with some great strategies that really apply specifically to your business. Finally, we'll review stuff, and I will allow time for questions at the end. However, throughout the presentation, I am going to ask for here and there for your interaction. So it might be raising a hand, or I hope you've also discovered that if you click on the little red button, usually in the top right of your screen, if you click on that, it will expand, and then you should have a little text area where you can actually drop me a line. So if I ask you to send me a message to say yes or no, or even your situation, you can do so. I'm going to send all of you one now and just say hi. So you should have all received that. If you'd all like to drop me one back to show me you found that text area, that would be great. A quick hi, a smiley face, whatever you like. Okay, I'm going to keep going in the interest of time. We've got a nice tight hour and we want to cover lots. So here's what we're looking at today. We're looking at profit drivers. Now these are the things that really get your business moving. So in just a moment I'll explain what they are and how to get them to work for you. I also really want you to consider today what business you're in, because sometimes the superficial business you think you're in is not really what the essence of it is when you get down to it. So I'll give you some ideas on what I really mean about that. We'll also discuss your profit goals, because you really need to have goals, and it's particularly important at the moment where the economy is pretty tough. If you're not really all over your figures, and in particular on this webinar we'll be focusing on your net profit, it's going to be very hard to know how you're going and what you can do to improve your business. Finally, we'll talk about some minor improvements and how bigger results they can mean just by tweaking a few things. And I really want you to leave today with an action plan too. It's one thing to learn a heap of stuff, but it's quite another to actually put those things into place. So we're all about action plans here. Okay, so profit drivers, what are these things? Well, any business should have a set of factors which will drive it forward. And I've specifically chosen a butterfly swimmer there because they've got to have a really nice, efficient stroke. They've got to have done some training, and they've got to have the right gear on to perform well in a race. And so too do you as the business owner. Now, when it comes to profit drivers, there's two types. There's financial and non-financial. Let me explain what they are. These are the types of things we call financial profit drivers. These are things that affect the finances directly, usually related to finances. So let's just take a quick look at each of them. Pricing. If you want to improve your business, maybe you need to consider improving your pricing. Sometimes it's making it more competitive because maybe you've outpriced yourself from the market, and sometimes it's revising your pricing. Sometimes you can add value in different ways. Sometimes you need to increase your pricing because you realize you're not charging enough. You know, inflation keeps on going up year on year, and if you as a business owner aren't evaluating what your cost of sales are and what your expenses are, therefore what your profit is, which we'll talk about more in a moment, and you're not raising the pricing model, then it can be very difficult to be a sustainable, profitable business. So I would encourage you at the start of the year, and we're still in that zone, to really look at that. And if you need to write an email to your customers stating that your prices have been the same for a number of years now and it's time for a small price increase and asking for their understanding, that is quite common and well encouraged. Okay, variable costs. This is your cost of sales. Now, cost of sales are the types of expenses you have in a business that are a direct cost of how you get that business out there. So, for instance, if I run my web development company, paying contractors is a cost of sale of mine. I can't create a website without getting people involved to create those websites. I also may have to pay a server for hosting, so I can't offer hosting without incurring that fee. So that's also a cost of sale. So you need to get a clear handle on what your cost of sales are, and where possible, get those down. That will drive your business up. That will improve your business. Next up, your sales volume. Of course, if you sell more, then you're going to be in a better position. If you can sell more to the same customers, it's actually an easier sell. We talk about that in just a moment. The sound's gone rather strange. We're just fixing that. Okay, I've got no reverb now, and hopefully you don't either. Okay, yeah, the sales volume. We talk about more in retaining customers, another webinar we've got coming up, how important it is to retain customers and try and get more sales out of each of them. And we give you some great strategies. So if that's of interest, come on over to that webinar in a few weeks. Another one is fixed costs. Every business will have costs that are expenses that they incur, and they're fixed. You can't change them. They're going to be there every week or every month. The types of fixed costs that you may have are things like telephone bills, your electricity, maybe printer and ink. It depends on what your business is as to what your fixed costs are. But if you're looking at improving your business, of course, looking at exactly what your costs are and trying to get those down is a good one as well. You know, for instance, when was the last time you conducted an insurance audit? or looked at your telecommunications setup and whether you might be able to get a cheaper deal there. They're two areas that commonly across all businesses money can sometimes be saved. Also look at your cost of debt. If you have got an interest rate on whether it be credit cards or overdrawn facilities or a loan, shop around and see if you can improve it or negotiate with your bank. That can help save you some money. And look, the final one doesn't apply to every business, but if you are a stock-based business dealing in inventory, then that's certainly something that can improve your financial position if you're not carrying too much stock, if you're not overstocked, because it's quite a difficult thing to have a lot of stuff sitting on the shelves there and it not moving, because that's your money that could be flowing through your bank. Right, I've just changed the slide. It looks very similar, but now I want to talk to you about non-financial profit drivers. First up, we've got staff training. Now, that might not seem like something that can drive your finances or improve your business, but think about the increased efficiency and productivity you could have if your staff were more properly trained. Now, you may choose to get some training facilities happening within your office. You may choose to bring someone into your office to train people, or you may actually arrange for them to go and do professional development outside of the office too. Product innovation is another one. If your business is in the, every business needs to be innovative and keep ahead of the market. So if once your product was really in demand and innovative, maybe it's got a bit old and tired now, maybe you need to create a new product, or maybe you need to repackage an existing product, market it differently. That's another way you can drive your finances that aren't directly financially related, but that will impact on your bottom line. Market share as well. How much of the market share do you currently have for your business? Is it in the local area? Could you grow it, across the state or even nationally, maybe even internationally? What sort of market share do you have? Do you have a strong market share with a certain demographic? Perhaps you could look to, if you're only dealing with young people or older markets, to diversify into other products that maybe they would also enjoy, other age groups. Productivity. Look at how productive you are, particularly if you are a solopreneur, because that's going to drive your business. Look at what times you're spending on each aspect of your business each day. Customer satisfaction. If you get really happy customers and you focus on customer service, then your finances are going to look better because they'll be referring more, they'll be buying more from you, they'll become your ambassadors. And again, we talk about that in some of these future marketing related webinars. So if you'd like to learn more strategies of how to make that happen, we'll certainly give you some ideas. And of course, you can't forget the product or the service quality. If you go to a burger joint, for instance, and it's just not an enjoyable meal, then are you going to go back? Probably not. They could have lost your future business. So I want you to text me if you've ever considered these non-financial drivers, and if so, which ones you think you might be able to go away and implement from this webinar, work on. Which ones do you think could make an impact for you? So find your little text area and drop me a line. It's good to have interaction. It means that I know who you are, where you're at as a business, and that you haven't gone to sleep on me as well. Okay, making your profit drivers work for you. I'd still like you to text that in so you can listen and maybe type in at the same time. You do need to work on your top profit drivers, and for many businesses there's a few things that are really going to make a big difference. If you can increase your sales, also known as your turnover or your revenue, that's obviously going to help, but at the same time if you can reduce your cost of sales and reduce your overheads, then your business is going to be in a much improved position. Now I'll tell you an exercise I as a business owner did just the other week. Luckily I'd had a financial expert come and take a look at the books, and he deduced that of what we were charging for our domains and our hosting, our domains being the web addresses, and what money we were getting in for them, there seemed to be some issue there. We should have been making a profit, but it was actually down. So we took a good half day out of normal business and what our normal activities would be to evaluate, to do what we called a domain and hosting audit and work out exactly. Just the sound's gone again, reverbing again. I don't know if you're getting reverb, but I certainly am. That's much better. Okay, So what we did is we did this domain and hosting audit, and we worked out that some people weren't being charged enough, some people hadn't been charged frequently enough, etc. We made an action plan, and although that did take us half a day and it wasn't the best of jobs to do, we're now confident that that's really going to improve our bottom line, our net profit. It is going to improve our business. And it could be something like that, that just by not taking the time to look at your figures carefully or getting a professional in to look at them, you don't even realize is happening. You're just kind of wondering why you're always struggling to keep your head above water, why the business still seems to be so tough. Do take responsibility for it. Do take a close magnifying glass to it, and you may find some good ideas in there. Here's a stat for you. The average business can actually increase its net profit by a staggering 38% just by looking at these three areas. So it may seem like a big task, but you know, even if you were to print out this note and stick it above your computer and focus on that for the next wee while, you could really improve your business, maybe up to by 40%. Let's look at some more figures, and let me tell you, figures do scare me as a business owner. Yes, I've done all these wonderful things in business, but we all have our strengths and weaknesses, don't we? And I'm not a big figures girl. I was never one for maths. So I really appreciate the fact that Dee Dee does have these resources, and this is taken directly out of one of their workbooks, the Improve Your Business one, which again I encourage you to go and take a look at. Let me take you through this because it actually is a simple concept once you understand it. So we were just talking about increasing your sales, and here's my mouse here. Did you know if you could just increase your sales by 5%, so let's imagine you had $100,000 a year coming in. If you can increase that by 5%, you would then obviously be getting $105,000. That's simple enough to understand. Then let's say you gave yourself the target of reducing your cost of sales by 2.5%, even half the amount you're increasing the sales by. That would mean your cost of sales, let's say they were $70,000, they would go down, because it's more than this figure, but it's by 2.5% of the one above. So hopefully you understand that. That would leave you with an increased gross profit to start with. But then if you could also reduce those overheads in terms of expenses, like I was talking about, reduce the insurance, reduce the stationery, reduce the software you're using, or whatever other expenses you may have, even if you could reduce it by 2.5%, that would be that much. Now you can see here, that's how we get to that figure. By these small incremental changes, up by 5% turnover, down by 2.5 cost of sales and expenses, an increased net profit of 38.37%. That, you know, is going to be in your bank accounts, people. Does that sound like an exciting concept? Who would like to see a 40% nearly increase in their business? Raise your hand. Katrina does. Does anybody else? Trevor does. Robert does. Very good. Please do interact with me, people. Paul does too. Some of the others of you, that's strange. I would have thought you'd want that one. I don't know if you've found the button yet. Keep trying though there, people. Don't give up. Okay, here's another concept I want you to understand from today, and that is, what business are you in? Now, you might say, that's easy. I know exactly what I do. What a silly thing to ask, but let me explain some more. Many people start a business believing that just because they know the technical side of it, they're just definitely qualified, they're going to fly, they're going to be successful. You know, for instance, I'm a plumber. I know all about plumbing. I'll start my own plumbing business. Or I'm a hairdresser. I can cut great hair. I can dye great hair. I know I can make a great business. But you've probably seen people during the course of your life to know that that's not true. Unfortunately, here in Australia, we still do have quite a high failure rate in small business startups. So why do they fail? I also want you to consider here what the reasons you got into business was for. Can you text me why you went into business for yourself right now? I'd be really curious to know. While you're texting me why you went into business, I want you to look at your business through new eyes. I want you to consider whether your services and products right here, right now, today, that you're offering to the market really satisfy their needs. Because people, we live in such a changing economy, a changing environment. There is so much happening in the world right now. You know, technology, for instance, I mean, that has just changed the way we communicate, the way we live, how much time we spend online. the way we do business, you know, even emails. Some people aren't using emails so much anymore. They're communicating via social networks and Skype and chat, live chat. There's so many different options out there. So consider how you communicate, what technology you use, how you get your service and products to the market, and whether you think the market is really receiving these well, whether they need to be updated or rethought through. Also consider carefully if you've ever asked your market or customers, especially your really valued customers, specifically what they want. Because you might think that, for instance, in the workbook there's a couple in the coffee shop, and when they were asked these questions, they were asked, what business are you in? They said, well, we sell coffee, we're a coffee shop, simple. But when they went through these exercises, they realized there was a bit more to it. They asked people what they wanted and why they came there, and people answered things like, I come to relax, I come to get out of the office, I come to catch up with a friend, I come because I like your coffee, was on the list, but it wasn't the only reason people were coming along. So I want you to consider whether you have asked them and how you've asked them, because sometimes if you are that person they're directly dealing with every day, they'll give you a set answer, but they want to save face, they don't want to embarrass you, so they may tell you the good things. Have you ever considered surveying your customers? There's great software like surveymonkey.com or go polldaddy, P-O-L-L daddy.com, and even on things like Facebook, you can quickly and easily create a survey or a poll and ask them one simple question. You know, if you ran that coffee shop, what's your favorite type of coffee bean? And seeing whether it is Arabica or something else. Asking them what's their favorite type of coffee as well, because maybe you thought everyone likes cappuccinos and maybe it's not that way. Maybe they say frappes and you don't even offer them right now. So there's an idea for you to improve your business. So try and think through the eyes of a customer and really give it some serious thought. Are you really in the business you think you are? Because like I just said, those coffee shop owners in the workbook, they thought they're in the business of selling coffee. But when they got down to it, they realized they're actually in the business of giving people a break, helping them relax, giving them time out, and they needed to enhance the ambience and the offering of the whole coffee shop experience, not just the coffee that was being served up. Consider this. First up, people, who likes motorbikes? Who likes Harley Davidsons? Put up your hands. Do I have any bikey buffs in our midst? Trevor does. Michelle's got her hand up, might be from before. Who else likes bikes? Katrina does. Paul does. Very good. So if I was to ask you, what are Harley Davidson in the business of? Bearing in mind what I've just been talking about, can you text me what they're in the business of? I think we're getting some answers through, but we will push on. Often when I ask that question, people still don't quite grasp the question. They will answer, they're in the business of selling motorbikes. Well, yes, on a top level, surface level look at it, that is what they do. But if you actually get down to it, they are in the business of offering luxury lifestyle experiences. You know, for a lot of people, it's about the roar of the motor. It's about the hair flying in the wind. It's about the prestige and the feeling that comes with driving that motorbike. It's not just about having a motorbike, is it? And there's also this whole brand and reputation that goes along with Harley Davidson. You know, they're big bikes, they're solid, they're credible, they've been in the market for a long time, they're excellent marketers. So that's just another example of how you might be able to reconsider the business you're in with that Harley Davidson example. These are the questions you can ask yourself to get to this place. My business is what my business does, but what it really does if you get down to it. At this point, I'd actually like one of you to volunteer, if you wouldn't mind, and I'm going to unmute you, and we're going to go through this exercise so the rest of the other people can actually learn through them discussing. So I won't hurt, I promise, I'll be kind. Could one of you put up your hands if you're willing for us to unmute you, and we'll just have a little chat for a moment? Come on, you fraidy cats. Not one of them so far. Paul is going to. Fantastic. Paul, we're just going to take you off mute. Paul, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Hi, Paul. Thanks for getting on the webinar today. Tell me, if I was to ask you my business is, what would you say?
We're environmental consultants.
You're environmental consultants. Very good. And my business does, what would you say?
We provide service for our clients or solve problems for our clients.
Okay. And there'd probably be a word in there like environmental or something, wouldn't there, to be more descriptive, probably?
Yes.
Yep. But what does your business really do? At the end of the day, why do people choose you over other people? Or what is the nitty-gritty of why they choose to use you?
We have a long track record. The business has been established since 1990. We build very good relationships with our clients. We do a lot of repeat business, and we put a lot of effort into customer service.
Okay. So when you're environmental consultants, correct me if I'm wrong, would you be preparing reports and doing survey and research and things like that for clients?
Yes, when required, yes.
Yeah. What's your core service offering then?
I guess we answer clients' questions because we cover quite a broad range of issues within the environment, and it's a multifaceted company.
Yeah. Okay. I guess what I would suggest for you in terms of this workshop is that my business does, you could say, provides environmental consultancy advice or something like that. Would that be fair enough to say?
Yep. Yes, that's a good start, yes.
Yep. But what your business really does is perhaps provide insights and the information that businesses need to make decisions, progress projects, etc. That would be getting down to a deeper level, wouldn't it?
Yes, that's correct, yes.
Yeah. So is that useful going through that for you? Like sometimes you can do this yourself and other times you need to actually get someone to look at it from the outside too because it's so close to you?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah. And I do appreciate environmental consultancy and thanks for sharing. I know of other people in that industry and there is such a range of services they offer that it can be quite hard to articulate to prospective clients or even existing ones that even though they've used you for one service, they can use you for a different one as well. Would that be the same for you?
That's right. That's a problem we face all the time.
Yeah, sure. So if you can find ways of articulating this in a nice, succinct, very clear way, this very slide, seemingly simple, it could be a very powerful resource, don't you think?
Yes, it is. It is helpful, yes.
Great. Well, thanks for sharing, Paul. I'm just going to mute you again, and you're welcome to ask some more questions later on, but thanks so much for volunteering. Okay. Now, it's nice that we know some ways that you can improve your business through these profit drivers, and I really hope you've also got you do need to, as I'm encouraging you, take some time first out to really consider what business you're in. Next up, though, you need to think what your profit goals are. Because, okay, are you going to reduce your cost of sales? Well, exactly by how much? Is it the 2.5% as per the example before? Or do you think it's realistic for you to reduce it even further or perhaps less? So as you can see on the slide here, to operate a business which is going to give you the income you desire, because too many business owners I know are not drawing enough money out of it. They're barely paying themselves sometimes nothing, sometimes a minimal amount. And I really think it should be the goal of everyone in business to be paying themselves the wage that they could, they're happy with for starters, but that they could otherwise go out and get a job themselves. So if that's a goal for some of you, that's what I'd encourage. But to achieve that, you need to know how much net profit your business must make for it to be viable for you. Now at this point, for some more interaction, I'm going to launch a poll. And you should have just had pop up at your end a question, which is, do you know exactly how much net profit your business needs to be viable? Now be honest here, people. It's a simple yes or no. We're not going to point fingers and say such and such said no. I'm just curious to know the percentages of each of you that do and don't, because it's pretty common that a lot don't. They just sort of truck along and have a bit of an idea, but they don't know exactly. Those surveys are coming in okay. Just put up your hand if that did pop up okay for you. You can see a little poll that you can complete. Great, Trevor's got it, and people are responding. Excellent. Well, I'll just let you carry on answering that quick question, and we will push on in the meantime with this presentation. So to remind you what the net profit is and how you find it, well, it's your sales revenue minus all your costs. All your costs being all your cost of sales and all your expenses together. That leaves you net profit. That's your bottom line, that what should be left over at the end of the day. We don't want that a negative red figure, and we don't want it a just break-even figure. We kind of want that in profit. Other profit goal considerations. So we've talked about expenses and the types of things expenses are, but I also want you to understand the concept of fixed and variable expenses. Every business will have some expenses that don't change every month, every year, every week. They're the same amount of money. Let's say a phone plan, provided you don't go over the data usage, maybe a mobile plan, it should pretty much be the same amount every single month, apart from maybe international calls and stuff as well. Or perhaps your website hosting, that might be the same every single month. So that would be a fixed expense. Then there are variable expenses that you just don't know. Like stationery is one. Sometimes you might do a lot of print things, you might need a lot of pens, you might run an event, and other times you might need very little. What else would be a variable expense? Sometimes software, you might have to increase the amount you pay per month depending on your usage, etc. So you do need to set a budget though to get a handle on the likely fixed expenses and the likely variable ones, because you also need working capital, which is basically sufficient funds to meet all the business's commitments as they fall due, or else you may well be trading insolvently, and that's not good at all. I'm going to switch now to a little budget that I want to show you, because this is going to show you what do you need just to keep operating and what do you need to make money. Let me just pull that up. Okay, this is totally hypothetical, but every business owner needs something like this. Now, your account system may do it, your accounts person may do it, but you as a business owner, if you really care about the success of your business, if you really want to improve your business position, you do need to take responsibility and sit down and look at these figures yourself on a frequent basis. So here we go. I like to do, apart from what we've just talked about, fixed expenses and variable expenses, I also like to have fixed income and variable income. Now I know that might not be realistic for some of you, but some of you might have a client on a retainer basis, a job that you do on a monthly basis. Maybe you're a lawn mowing business and you know that every single month there is a resort that you go and mow the lawns for and they pay you a set amount. Therefore, you could put that in as a fixed income. You know it's going to come provided you keep the client. Variable incomes, you could go through and look at past months and do an average and pop those figures in there. And if you set up a little spreadsheet like this, it'll automatically tally it. I like doing a per week, a per fortnight, and a per month column, because then I find if it's a monthly income or a monthly expense, I can plug it in there. But if I only know the weekly amount, I can pop it in there, and then I leave the formulas to run the rest for me. That just helps me get a good handle on my cash flow each and every week. Moving down, fixed expenses. So here's some examples you may or may not have, and there may be others. You might have wages. That's a fixed expense. Generally, it wouldn't change each week. The mobile, the internet connection and landline. Your superannuation may be a fixed expense, and car insurance and hosting. You know, they generally come out on a regular basis. These variable expenses, here's some more examples. Bank charges can vary, of course, whether you need to get your computer repaired or not, whether you need to get your vehicle repaired or not. Postage can vary depending on how much postage you're doing, how much you're spending on seminars, etc. So at the end of the month, we need to know what have we got left over, and we hope that this figure is in the black. So we want to know what the net per profit is. Now, we'll at the end of the presentation direct you to some great resources Dee Dee has online. They also have downloadable things like this, and also do refer to the workbook if you'd like to have a template that you can start working on. But the key here is you need to know what you need to just keep operating and what you need to actually make money. If you don't know those two figures, get to know them. Okay, so it looks like most of the 63% of you have voted so far, and 60% of you said you do know your net profit, so that's fantastic. I hopefully haven't just told you to suck eggs then, and you did get something out of that bit. But 40% of you did say no, so it's very important that you do go and do some work on this area. All right, achieving your profit goals. So you need to look at what is your minimum sales you need to do per month. You know, how many widgets, if you're selling widgets, do you need to sell, and at what cost? And then, of course, the higher the selling price, the less amounts you'll have to sell. So, you know, the easier route is to up the price and sell less of them. But then if you won't sell them because it's too high, you've got yourself in some trouble as well. So that's a really careful balancing act to know. And the reason I've chosen a ball with a goal is that you should be kicking goals in business, and you should be aware of your profit goal, particularly in relation to your minimum sales requirement. All right, here is some more useful stuff. How to drive your business turnover, 6 key factors. If you said to me, that's great, I've got all these costs of sales, I've got all these expenses, but I just don't have the income coming in at the top, what do I do? Here are 6 key ideas. If you can pick up and run with these, you can change things. Number 1, you need to generate more prospects. Now, that is often a challenge for businesses, how to market, where to market, what to spend money on, and what activities to do. We do cover that in the webinar, Attracting More Customers. So if you'd like to know how to generate more prospects, do take a look at that. But look, there are wonderful ways of generating prospects now. Never before as business owners have we had access to technology like websites and e-marketing and search engine optimization and social media, which, you know, can generate more prospects en masse. Previously, we had to place big display ads in national newspapers or local newspapers, and they could cost quite a lot of money, and they didn't always turn out good results. So that's something to be aware of. Secondly, we need to convert more prospects to customers as well. So this might all sound easier than done, but don't worry. I'm going to show you just how small increments of changes you can make in the next slide that can really make a difference. You also need to retain more past customers, which, like I said, we have a webinar all dedicated to that if you want some ideas. You need to sell to customers more often. So, you know, if you've had a customer, who do you deem deactivated? When was the last time you talked to them on the phone or dropped them an email? And it doesn't have to be a hard sell thing. You could literally just call them for a conversation and just say, just calling you up because I haven't heard from you in a while, what's been happening in your world? And you never know, you might just get a sale out of that one interaction. You need to increase the size of each sale. We've talked about that. That's a great way to increase the turnover or increase the sales price. And they're the key factors. If you can get all or some of those things going on, depending on what stage of business you're at, you will improve. You know, if you feel like you do have a lot of people in your database and they have purchased from you in a while, it's just gone quiet, then you're probably going to try and retain them and sell to them more often and do some of these strategies at the end. However, if you're a newer business who doesn't feel like they have enough in the kitty, so to speak, to kind of market to and get things happening, you're probably down more at this end where you need to keep generating the prospects and converting them as well. All right. This is where I said minor improvements can mean major results. So if you look at this diagram here, did you need me? Okay. Number 1, prospects. So some of you might have identified just then, yeah, I do need to go and do some more marketing, get some more prospects, whichever way you decide. If you get more prospects and you improve the conversion rate, so lots of people I talk to say, yeah, my conversion rate's really high, it's about 80%, but that's sort of just how they feel. They like to have confidence in their own abilities to convert and sell their product or service, but often when they crunch their numbers, their conversion rate is realistically a lot lower than that. So do get to know your conversion rate. Hands up who does know theirs. Anyone intimately know their conversion rate on their prospects? Hands up if you do. Paul Smith does. Awesome, Paul. Great job. Anybody else? That's a really important figure, your conversion rate. It can really help you know how you're working and also whether your staff are doing well, especially the sales staff. Right, they obviously equal new customers. So if you're a new business, you want new business, that's what you've got to keep focused on. Next up, a lot of you will have existing customers. So it's about retaining them, and then we have retained customers. That is your customer base. And with that retained customer base, selling to them more frequently or more often, selling more to them when we do sell, and at a higher price. We've talked about these concepts quite a few times now. That equals the turnover. And do understand that just minor improvements can mean major results. Let me show you again. Let's say, using that same diagram, we had 1,000 prospects. If we had a 20% conversion rate, that would equal 200 new customers. Wonderful. Maybe we've just done an expo, we got 1,000 business cards at it, we called them all or emailed them all after the expo, and we got our 200 new customers. Separately, we might already have 1,000 past customers. We might have an 80% retention rate because, look, let's face it, some people will move on for whatever reason. They move town, it becomes too expensive, it's a service or product that's obsolete to them because their lifestyle changes or something. If that were the case, we would have 800 retained customers and 1,000 people in the customer base. Now you can see here if I started with 1,000 and I'm not keeping everyone, which is pretty common, you do need to keep adding to it. So if I was adding to it with a 20% conversion, I would be able to do that with my customer base. So think about some of those figures there yourself, people, and plug them in as to what might be realistic for you. You know, how many do you need on your customer base at any one time to still be a healthy business? Next up, how often would they transact with you? This diagram is suggesting as an average maybe 10 transactions. For instance, I know a medical practice does on average transact 10 times. On average, the average person would go to the doctors 10 times in 1 year. So that would be an example. And then that person may buy 10 items at a $10 price value. That's not obviously the doctors. They cost a lot more. But that would equal a $1 million turnover. Isn't that amazing? From just 1,000 customers, if you could get them to buy a $10 item, 10 $10 items 10 times a year, you'd have a $1 million turnover. Interesting concept, isn't it? Now, let's say that was you now, and I'd certainly encourage you to go away and map out your own current situation. Even averages, even guesses would be fine. Let's say we can average just a 1% improvement in each of those 6 factors we've just talked about by getting, 10% more prospects, 1,010, 21% conversion rate, etc., etc. I'm not going to go into every single one of these slides, it's little boxes, but look, that's 1,022 retained customers. But the bottom line is the most interesting one, probably, people, to you. That's an extra $53,000 a year, an increase of over 5% just by making 1% changes in each of those areas. So commit to improving those areas and you can get some fantastic results. Okay, I have purposely chosen Mr. Bruce Lee, who is all about action, of course, the famous martial arts actor, when it comes to developing an action plan. With all of the stuff you've learnt today, I've encouraged you to do quite a few things, and I'm hoping you've picked up on the things that are most important and are relevant to you. So I would encourage you to go away and set some SMART goals about what you're going to do now to improve your business. These goals, meaning SMART, some of you will know this concept, some of you won't. Hands up if you have heard of SMART goals before. That's not something new to you. Trevor's heard of them before. Very good. How about you, Anthony and Michelle? What about you, Helen? Well, a SMART goal, just in case some of you don't know, Michelle has. Wonderful. SMART goal stands for specific. It needs to be really specific when you're setting a goal. So I've given you some examples today, like I'm going to reduce my cost of sales by 2.5%, for example. It needs to be measurable. It needs to be achievable, and only you will know the answer to that. It needs to be realistic. Only you will also know the answer to that, or your accountant, and time specific. So to improve that goal I've just said, I'm going to aim to decrease my cost of sales by 2.5%. I would need to add to that in the next month or within the calendar year, for example. That's a nice SMART goal. And, commit to that, write it down, communicate it to your staff and other stakeholders, and then it's up to you to make it happen. So please do. So I ask you, what SMART goals do you want to achieve for yourself and your business? This can be just in general. In the next 30 days, and you should always have short-term and long-term goals. And what about for the rest of 2011? I'd love you to drop me a quick line and let me know what your SMART goals are for the next few months. While you're doing that, people, I'm just going to recap on what we've covered today. We've actually managed to do pretty well and get through our presentation. We did talk about profit drivers. I'm hoping now you know exactly what they are and how you can get them working for you. I want you to really seriously think about what is the essence of your business and how can you ask customers how you can do better, because they may describe your business in a way that you'd never even considered it, and yet it is the best possible way you could articulate it. You know, once I had a work experience student who wrote a report as part of her internship about the business she'd worked at, mine, and what she thought we could be doing and who we were. And I just thought the words she used were so wonderful that to this day I still use some of them in some of my marketing. Your profit goal, think about your net profit. 40% of you said you didn't know it, so I encourage you to go away and look at that. How you're going to achieve a good net profit, and what your minimum sales requirement is going to be as well. Don't forget that these only need to be small percentages of changes. They don't need to even be dramatic, and they can make such a big difference on your bottom line. So I hope that excites you. And finally, don't forget to write some goals. I'd still like to see some of those from you. I'm not getting those texts coming through. It really is very easy. Click on the red little arrow on the top right, and then down the bottom there should be a little plus sign next to chat or text, and you should just be able to drop me a quick line. I'd still like to hear from you. So that's the end of our formal presentation today, but I'd now like to open up the opportunity for you to ask questions. So if any of you have got a question about anything we've covered today, or try me for anything general in business, and I'll do my best to help, please raise your hand now and we'll unmute you. It's a good opportunity for free advice. It's not often you get the opportunity to ask for free. Sometimes you have to pay professionals to get ideas like this. Nobody? Okay, well, speak now, forever hold your peace. Last chance to put up your hand. Any little thing, some issue you're having in business, some little question you've wondered if I know the answer to. Okay, someone is texting a question. Anthony, thank you for contributing. You are interested in my views on marketing or promoting an SME. Anthony, if you wouldn't mind, I'd love to unmute you because I need to sort of understand what business you're in first, and I can maybe give you some really relevant answers. Shall we try unmuting Anthony and see if he's got sound and can participate? Anthony, can you hear us?
Yes.
Great. Do you mind having a quick chat rather than a text chat?
Sure.
Cool. So
Yeah,
Anthony, tell me about your business. What do you do?
Basically PR.
PR? Great. And where are you based?
Brisbane.
Okay. And you work with some small to medium enterprises. That's why you've asked about my views on marketing and promoting them?
Mainly large, but I'm interested in your views on how you can promote the smaller ones, because my experience has been mainly with it at the larger end, and I know it's much harder when you're a smaller business.
Sure. So, I mean, budgets of sort of what bracket to what bracket, or under what amount, say, per annum are we talking here?
Well, really, I'm just interested in your general advice.
Sure. All right. Well, I'll speak generally. Look, I do deal with a lot of small to medium businesses, and I really like them. I find them very inspiring, usually full of energy and enthusiasm, and there's usually no shortage of ideas on how they could market or promote their business. It's about getting them realistic as to what is actually going to work and in what order to do it. The order thing is very, very important. I'm a big believer in market research, because a lot of them I find think they've checked the market first, and I sometimes discover they haven't. So sometimes it's doing using some professional software, some online market research, because otherwise you can go out and waste money or time, and it really wasn't the right approach. So I quite like to do some careful planning and analysis first. I do find that online marketing, is great bang for buck. in terms of return on investment. Usually their budgets are really small. I mean, typically they might have maybe maximum $50,000 to spend on marketing in a year, often a lot less. So therefore, you know, how can we stretch it as far as we can with activities and investment? So look, there's so many different strategies that can work for different businesses, and I don't have the same approach for each one, but I love social media right now. I think every business should have a Facebook page, and they need to set it up correctly too. I think Facebook advertising is a great means to throw a bit of budget and test markets, and I love how targeted it is because, of course, you can specify by age and location and bunches of stuff, which helps them, you know, make sure it gets to the right people. I think every business needs a good website which is well search engine optimized. I think PR is still a great strategy, and as you can probably tell, I think entering business awards is a great one too. I think of PR and business awards as sort of multifaceted, you know, particularly when they're small and maybe they're early stages. Those business awards and some good media coverage can kind of give them some credibility and really help them climb the ladder so that they do have those bigger budgets to work with and become bigger companies if that's their aspiration, because it gives them that, that cred in the market. Have you played with any of those strategies before?
Yeah, well, those are all things that I've done, but it's good to get the affirmation, I guess.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
I've found social media to be becoming bigger and bigger with a lot of clients, both big and small. And it's certainly something which my firm's pushing into a lot more than traditional media, which is in your newspapers and whatever else. I've found, yes, social media being probably the best bang for buck, I guess, for your smaller businesses, given that they probably can't afford to run a long-term PR campaign. So yeah, those are all things which I've looked at in the past, and I think they're all good good ideas.
Sure. I mean, my background is as a journalist, so being in the media, and then as in PR as well. So I've got lots of experience with the offline, and I still do think the offline world does work in certain situations with certain budgets and certain products. But there's so many great skills that transfer from PR into social media, although there are also distinct differences. Like obviously you're not on there to sell, you're on there to conversate and listen and create buzz and stuff like that. And it's a whole nother topic really. But yeah, great to hear you looking to move into it, because it's a fantastic dynamic environment. And the biggest challenge I think is keeping up, because in the last week alone Facebook has made 3 major updates. And I think some small business owners are getting a little bit stressed out at the moment about these changes and how to keep up and what they should be doing, and they're spending a lot of time. So I think education is really key as well. Cool, Anthony. Have you got anything else you want to chat about, or should we let the others see if they've got any questions?
Yeah, no, thanks. That was good.
Great. Glad you enjoyed it. We'll just mute you now, Anthony. And has anyone else got a last question? Good question from Anthony there. Try me on anything. Well, if not, we'll just move on and wrap up. I want to let you know that this is not the only webinar this year. This is the first in a series. We've got lots of webinars booked in until June on all sorts of topics. Now, even if you're looking at these topics, and this is just a small selection of some of them coming up, and thinking, I think I've got a handle on that, if you can afford just 1 hour of your time, remember they are free, and if you pick up even one little tip, or just by committing to being on them, it means you focus on your business and stop working in it for just 1 hour, then maybe it's worthwhile getting on. So the first one, considering a business on there, is on next week, and that's great if you're in the early stages of your business, or we'd love you to encourage anyone you know who is not yet in business at all, but is just thinking about it and needing to know what all the different aspects they need to consider before they enter it. Strengthening your business is something similar to improve your business, but taking things to an even deeper level on how you can improve your business, because you need to be strong right now, or else, you know, times get tough and things can go wrong. Attracting new customers and retaining your profitable customers, they are two that I've referred to throughout this webinar, marketing related. So very good ones for most business owners I meet are very interested in marketing strategies. So look, all of those are actually at 7:30 in the evening. They are all also recorded, and we do have recordings from previous webinars. However, I strongly encourage you to get on the live events, because there's nothing like interacting, like you've hopefully seen, getting a chance to ask questions, hearing from other business owners and knowing you're not the only one experiencing these problems or not knowing what your exact net profit is. There's lots of power in that. They're all free, and you can register for all of them here at this website. We've actually got 2 websites available now. The thing with the business.qld.gov.au website is it's a fantastic website, but it's extremely extensive, and sometimes the design of it changes. But if you do come to it currently, scroll down the bottom, and the webinars part is just down here at the bottom. I don't want to fill that in. So if you were to click on this one, presumably you all did this to get on the webinar in the first place. I'm just going to slow down because I can see the view is not quite keeping up. Here we are with a list of other webinars right through until June. So get on them and register. We've got financial ones coming up, business planning type ones coming up. There's some really great topics to come. I'll show you the small business webinar website as well. This is dedicated to this webinar series. So if you really just want to jump on and book, that could be useful. If you wanted some orientation, or you've encouraged someone to come on these and they're not quite sure what's involved with getting on this webinar, we now have a video available for you to watch, just 2 minutes long before you get online. So that's a great resource too. You can check out more information about any of these. You can download the workbooks, and very shortly this week we will be uploading all the recordings from last year's webinars, so you can get on and listen to them. We've had some fantastic guest speakers, so they will be available right here on this place where I'm highlighting. Okay, now apart from webinars, the DD or government does offer so many other ranges of help. You know, if you've been affected by the floods, or you know someone who has, if you've been recently made unemployed, or you know someone who has, they do have resources and programs and grants and things to help. So go to business.qld.gov.au. They've got just lots of information as well. And did you know there's even a hotline, a 1300 number you can ring anytime and just ask a question. No question is a silly question. They're there to help. So please do utilise these wonderful services. Look, I hope you've enjoyed today. I've certainly enjoyed hosting you. You weren't sending me as many texts as sometimes I do get, but there's always next time, and I did see some of you did send me some messages. So thank you for those, and thank you to those especially who volunteered along the way. Now, JAG has just sent to all of you a SurveyMonkey link, and it's actually part of our requirement on this contract with DD that as many of you as possible, ideally all of you, answer this very quick survey about how you found today's webinar. We do read each and every one of these and report back to DD, and we do take on board the advice on how we can improve them. So if you wouldn't mind just staying online, quickly completing that before you log off, that would be fantastic feedback for us to look at in the future. So as I say, I hope you enjoyed today. Hands up if you did. Good, few hands going up. Great, all hands, even better. Fantastic. Thanks so much, people, and I look forward to hosting you on a future webinar. Catch you later.